Sports fam, welcome to another episode of the Fantasy Debate with Sam and Tate, brought to you by Fantasy Focused and the Original Hooters. I am Sam Holt, joined as always by my wonderful co-host, Derek Tate. Derek, how are you and what are you drinking tonight?
Ooh, I am on trying these new Corona hard seltzers. I almost went with the Natty Light seltzer, but I'm on a seltzer kick. I'm not going to lie. I've been roped in. It's tough to admit, but it's true.
You know what? I'm definitely in on the seltzers all quarantine long, and I think it's mostly because I can't buy any more of my bourbon. It's not easy accessible anymore. I don't know about your grocery store, but due to quarantine, they've decided to lock up all the liquor. So you have to call someone for help at the grocery store just to get them to open up the bourbon. It's like, I want my Four Roses, but I also don't want to be here forever. So it's faster to just grab the Trulies. So I've got the black cherry lemonade, which is delicious.
I've experimented with hard booze while podcasting, and sometimes it hasn't ended very well. So I tend to have to steer towards beer or some other not quite as strong alcoholic content. So here I am. This is how I've arrived.
Yes. And then for me, I feel like my takes just get a bit too spicy when I'm drinking bourbon on podcasts. So it's probably for the best that we stick with the lighter fare for today's, especially since we're going to be focusing on QB ADP today.
A little bit of studious times for those of you tuning in live. Go ahead and hopefully you're wearing your glasses. You got your notepad and pen. I'm a notes. Are you a person where you type down most of your notes now via keyboard, notepads?
I know you're just bringing this up just to make fun of me, but I use lots of notepads and pens and mostly legal pads, but I've got graph paper today for these. So
this gets highlighter yellow normally for you.
It is. I have another one. I know. I've got so many. I've got like 4 or 5 of these guys just like floating around. My cat rips them up. He's always playing with paper, and so he's always like chewing on my running back rankings. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, they should be in a computer. I know, but I like writing stuff down. I just feel better.
You know, I'm already opening myself up to abuse. Jay Fife, co-host of the Go Route here on Fantasy Focus, giving me a little jab. Seltzer sucks. Thanks. What's up, my man? And Will Jenkins, of course. What up, fam?
Will. I love that Will is always with us, no matter what. I feel like he's just like there in battle with us every episode. Thanks, Will, for always tuning in. Guys, if you have any other like fantasy questions, just random questions that you want to throw at us as we're all just dealing with quarantine and wishing for sports to come back properly, throw questions at us in the comments and we'll answer them as we go through today's pod. So please go ahead and drop those in the comments. But no, yeah, I mean, I love this. I freaking love the seltzers. They're so good. I've definitely been like, I put away at least 3 a day, I think now. That's probably too much.
Damn. All right. You're putting up daily numbers. Hell, I save all my stuff till the weekend.
You know, I got to keep my stats average high. I feel like it's good to have high numbers.
Your fantasy numbers are fantastic. You're a consistent performer. I'm more boomer bust when it comes to drinking.
I never want to be boomer bust. I want to be a consistent, someone you can rely on. You know, someone's like a stash. Maybe not a top tier, mid tier, but you know will perform every week. That's me on these Trulies. So
no, I'm pretty much the equivalent of Marquise Hollywood Brown in your fantasy lineup. If you're drinking with me, it can get off to a great start and be a great time, or I just put up a dud. It is what it is.
Tate, Will is making fun of our note taking and yours in particular. Tate probably uses a feather and a scroll for his notes.
A little dipping pad ink. Yeah.
Actually, I use those good old fashioned jelly roll pens from the 90s. Oh, you can get these on Amazon. They're so fun.
Yo, those they hit a chord with me. My first girlfriend in middle school. Like, did you live through the era where you wrote that shit like who were you in a relationship with on your hand with the gel pen?
Oh, I'm sure I did. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah, well, I did. And it was hard to eat lunch. Also, it's hard to eat lunch with one hand when you're holding hands the entire time during lunch. That sucked. And I also mentioned that I didn't like that. And then I got dumped the next day.
Yeah.
Middle school relationships were fun.
Yeah, I never had one in middle school. I was too busy, focusing on not looking weird.
Yeah, I didn't accomplish that. I don't even know how I got a girlfriend. So weird times in middle school.
But let's swing back to the main topic of today, and it's QB ADP. I mean, I know I just finished the Scott Fish Bowl for myself, and a lot of other people are doing drafts, and I still see a lot of questions going back and forth on how soon or is too soon to take a quarterback? I think today we mostly want to focus on Superflex, right?
We can focus mostly on Superflex because I feel as if the story is pretty much always the same when it comes to standard drafts, quarterback average draft position. You're going to have to spend a premium pick on someone like Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes. Otherwise, you can wait and get fantastic value later in your draft because you only can start one quarterback. And by the way, if you're in a one quarterback league, don't take 2 stud quarterbacks in the first 4 rounds and say, oh, I'm going to get trade value. No, you're not. Quarterback, you don't have to trade for a quarterback in a standard 1 QB league. Don't do that. Don't be that guy.
You're just bogarting and ruining a pick that you could have had a better depth at the other positions. You could have gotten a running back there. You could have gotten a receiver there, but then you decided, no, I want both of these guys. But yeah, I do feel like it's more trendy right now. So what the kids are up to, they're getting more into these super flex 2 QB leagues. And I think it's definitely fun. It's changing the way I'm drafting personally, because I've always been someone that in a single quarterback league, I wait very long before I get my quarterback. I'm going to try and get value at other positions. But this 2 QB format and all these different types of scoring options that people are playing with, it has you wondering, how soon is too soon to take my second quarterback even?
It depends on your league. It depends on, and every draft is different. Certainly these 2 quarterback leagues, seriously, you never know how one's going to go. Sometimes like you have 4 quarterbacks, 6 quarterbacks taken by the end of the first round. Mm-hmm. And sometimes in 2 QB leagues, they normally just play out like a normal draft because they're just like, well, I'm still not going to take a quarterback early. So it's all draft dependent, but generally we're going to see here when we're taking a look at some of these ADPs from Fantasy Football Calculator, as far as the average draft position goes for these 2 QB drafts, you might want to get one early because you put yourself in a very risque position if you decide to wait a quarterback in these 2 QB leagues.
Absolutely. So let's just run through our initial QB rankings really quick, and then we'll jump into their ADPs as we go. Because I feel like a lot of these guys, as you just go down generic rankings, they fall into immediate tiers, and you want to keep these tiers in mind as you're drafting. Do you want to start? I think that's pretty obvious who 1 and 2 are, and it just depends on who you are as to which one you take first. And I've got Lamar Jackson first, and I've got Patrick Mahomes second.
I thought you were going to say Taters first, but that's fine. I'll go ahead and follow you. It's Patrick Mahomes at number 1 for me, Lamar Jackson at number 2. I don't think you're choosing between 2 right answers. So anybody that has Lamar Jackson, if you remove his rushing stats from last season, and just purely his passing numbers, including his turnovers and all of his negative points, he would have finished as the QB6 without rushing for a single yard or touchdown. QB6. Pretty good. So I really, really, really don't like the narrative if anybody's, he's just, that great fantasy quarterback because he runs as much as he does. I mean, anybody that thinks that is ignorant. I mean, he led the league in touchdown passes without a true number 1 wide receiver. So if anybody has him at quarterback 1, I have no problem with it.
Absolutely. And I mean, I think Patrick Mahomes is obviously the easy, clear cut, no questions asked. He's in the top echelon of players. And as far as fantasy goes, I mean, just immediately jumping into ADP, he's someone that in a 2 QB format, like if you've got, I would say, first 5 picks, I would be shocked if you're in a super flex league if he's still available at the end of the first.
In a 2 QB league, I've got Mahomes and Lamar Jackson even ahead of Christian McCaffrey. And that may be popular, that may be unpopular. I don't care. I mean, both of those guys in 2 QB leagues, you have to start 2 of them each and every week. And you have a chance to get those guys that are arguably league winners on your roster. You do it because they can outscore the rest of the league by 50 to 100 points. Absolutely.
So let's just run down the rest of let's go through the rest of our top 10. Since I went first on my top 2, do you want to go through your 3 through 10?
Yes, please. Thank you. So 3 through 10, I actually, back when we did our quarterback rankings show, I had Dak Prescott at 3 originally, and all they did since then is not give him a long-term deal. So I get it. He's going to play on his franchise contract for the 2020 season. Knock on wood that we have one. But Dak has, arguably the best trio of wide receivers in the National Football League. So, and a quality offensive line in front of him, a running game that opposing teams have to respect. it lines up really well for Dak Prescott. And I still think he's going to be a top quarterback. I just wonder if there's Big D can stand for drama. I wonder if there's going to be any sort of fallout drama with Dak Prescott not getting that long-term deal, and things may be not as, I mean, they weren't functional last year. I mean, that was a very winnable division there in Dallas, or in the NFC East, and they still lost to Philadelphia. So I've got Russell Wilson, who is just Mr. Consistent and is still a mobile, still a dual threat quarterback, and just seems to be getting better and better. Also, they have an emerging DK Metcalf alongside Tyler Lockett. They added Greg Olsen, which is another under the radar kind of signing. I've got Wilson at 3, Prescott at 4, Watson at 5, Drew Brees at 6. So I got Drew Brees ahead of 2 of the popular breakout candidates at quarterback this season. Mm-hmm. Josh Allen at 7, Kyler Murray at 8, Matt Ryan at 9, and Carson Wentz at 10.
Interesting. All right. I think with this tier, I mean, we got past the top 2, and this next one is kind of like tier 2A, tier 2B, I think.
Okay.
For me. They're very, very close in this group. So I've actually, I know I had Dak, I think I had him at 5 when we did our last rankings. I've moved him up since. I've, come to terms with the fact that I was wrong, and I can look at numbers and, understand, yes, he has an amazing, he has a lot of weapons. And like you said, he has one of the best receiving cores going into this year. With the addition of CeeDee Lamb to open it up for him, it's just going to be even more weapons to throw to. And he's already got such high numbers. So I just, I can't argue with the numbers. I just always feel like I forget him, maybe because I'm just not a big Cowboys fan. But I got to put my bias aside. I'm growing. I'm becoming more adult. Look at me. I'm growing. And then for 4 and 5, I've got Russell Wilson, and then I've also got Deshaun Watson at 5. So we share that. But then my next ones are a little bit different than yours. I've got Kyler Murray at 6.
Okay.
Like you said, breakout candidate. Drew Brees at 7, Mr. Consistent. I feel like Drew Brees, even though everyone keeps saying he keeps getting older, he's not disappointing you next year after next year, unlike someone like Phillip Rivers, who keeps, I think, disappointing as he's getting older, although he keeps popping out more kids, so he's not disappointing his wife. But, I mean, that aside, I feel like Drew Brees is just consistently keeping fantasy owners happy. So Drew Brees is at 7 for me. And then I've got Matt Ryan, who we talked a little bit off screen. Sorry, I messed you up on that, didn't I?
No, you didn't. I mean, I'm glad that Phillip Rivers can, in the offseason, in particular with COVID-19, he pretty much has an entire full side of the football as far as how many kids he can actually just take in the backyard and start having them run routes and stuff like that. He can almost get in a full practice squad.
Yeah,
he can get in a full practice in his backyard.
He's going to be in better shape than other people just because he's got, he can have defenders, coming at him, and they're kids. So they're going to take him out at the knees faster than others would. So he's going to be in great shape, but he's not in my top at all. Anyways, so Drew Brees at 7. I've got Matt Ryan at 8, who I know that a lot of people are kind of sleeping on. I've seen him drop a lot in drafts, but as far as the Scott Fishbowl that we just did, I got him in that league because I wanted him for his efficiency. He still has that high efficiency that you want in a quarterback, plus the volume with the amazing weapons he has. Plus he just got Todd Gurley, who we know can catch a football. So there's going to be a lot of great fantasy value there as well. I've also got Carson Wentz at 9, and I've actually got Tom Brady at 10.
Okay. All right.
I'm not in love with it, but I just feel like to fully discount the caliber weapons that Brady has now in Tampa Bay is just, I'm just being ignorant if I don't recognize those things. Yes, he's not going to have the same volume as someone like Jameis Winston. He's just not, but he's going to have the efficiency because that's how he's always played. He is a quarterback that throws with such accuracy and skill, like a scalpel. He doesn't need to throw as much, but it's going to be a touchdown, going to be 70 whatever yards. It's going to be an amazing play. So I just feel like with Tom Brady at 10, it's kind of a safer number. I don't feel comfortable putting him higher than that, though. That's why I said tier A and tier B.
I don't have any problem with Tom Brady being in your top 10. I mean, he's not too much farther down my list.
You say that because he's your quarterback now as a Tampa Bay Bucks.
You're right. If he would have been the New England quarterback, I would have had him probably outside of my top 20 as a fantasy quarterback. I mean, that's just the reality. But now he goes from throwing to the likes of busted up Julian Edelman and N'Keal Harry and Philip Dorsett to Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Gronkowski and OJ Howard. I mean, instant upgrade. So, yeah, I mean, the weapons that Brady has, there's no reason to think that he couldn't sneak inside the top 10, even with his just pure pocket presence.
Dried Ocean joining us in the comments saying, I feel like Dak will be the biggest boom or bust QB this year. Hot take from Dried Ocean. I don't know that I can't see Dak being a bust unless he gets injured.
Dak, I mean, what? Dak's been a top 12 quarterback every single year of his fantasy NFL career. I mean, it's just Dried Ocean. I would love to hear why. Maybe if you're fully buying into the fact that Dallas is just going to be a drama-filled mess, then maybe it comes unraveled. Maybe Dak holds out. I mean, not holds out. He already signed his tender, but I mean, I don't know. I think Dak's going to play this year, and as long as Dak plays, he should be productive. And
then Trevor joining us, Trevor Phillipsburg. If I said that wrong, I apologize deeply. But he's joining us saying that Drew Lock next year's fantasy Lamar Jackson. Oh,
that is bold.
That is a bold. That is bold. Let's see how that works out for him, Cotton. I'm not sure.
It's just, I mean, Drew Lock, I get it. I mean, on paper, right? They had a fantastic draft, and they've got a lot of young talent at pass catching positions. They 100%, and they added Melvin Gordon. So they got Melvin Gordon, Philip Lindsay, I mean, Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler. I mean, by the way, Cortland Sutton doesn't get enough love, and we'll talk about that with our ADP study for the wide receiver position.
Absolutely.
But when you look at Lock's sample size last year, when I was looking at his tape, he's struggled a little bit with his accuracy, struggled a little bit with his mechanics. Now, he was a rookie. He showed a lot of good things, but we just don't know what we're going to get, man. I mean, I love his upside because if he does boom, he's got a lot of young talent that he can throw to. It's just, I didn't see superstar written all over this guy with what I saw last season. But of course, a lot can change from year to year.
Sure, a lot can change. I mean, his sophomore year, I feel like obviously it always gets better. You're more familiar with the playbook. But then, like you just said, he's got so many new rookies with him. And then Melvin Gordon's the addition that, getting used to that. A veteran doesn't take as long to get used to the playbook. However, I feel like this is going to be a team where we see a lot of things work this year, but maybe the following year, 2021, is the year to really buy in on the Broncos.
Yeah, no. I mean, the Broncos have a lot of talent. It's just Drew Lock as a dynasty quarterback, I'm just wondering, because we're going to get into the ADP here in a second. I'm wondering if his ADP in 2 QB leagues is really worth it compared to where you can get your other second quarterback. Certainly, though, Drew Lock, I'm not denying that there's upside there.
No, definitely not denying the upside. I love the spiciness. Like, Drew Lock is going to finish top 10, maybe top 5 with the weapons. I mean, I love it, Trevor. I'm on board. But I'm more of a wait and see. He's also saying we had the same questions with Lamar a year ago. Keep in mind.
I want to raise my hand, though, Trevor. I want to raise my hand. Drew Lock is, don't get me wrong, he can sling it with the best of them. Got a super strong arm. I'd say he's probably like borderline top 10 arm, pure arm talent in the National Football League. But Lamar Jackson is the most dynamic running quarterback that we've seen since Michael Vick. Mm-hmm. I mean, Drew Lock ain't that, man. That's what I'm saying. Lamar is a different beast altogether. If you're liking him as a breakout candidate, I respect that.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially, like you said, with the weapons.
Lamar and Drew Lock aren't apples to apples. It's just two different types of quarterbacks.
Apples and mangoes?
I mean, apples and dragon fruit, which according to the former produce boy over at Publix supermarket, I said that they were, where were they grown? I think I said they were grown in like Italy, and it was wrong. It was somewhere in the Asian continent. So,
that's okay. We won't rely on you for where fruits come from. But okay, so basically within this top area of quarterbacks, those 3 through 10, I feel like that's tier 2A, tier 2B, as far as like where you would take them.
You can splice them up into 2 different tiers if you want to. That's fine. Personally, I think that I do have them in 2 different tiers. I have Russell Wilson, Dak, Deshaun, and Drew Brees in tier 2, and then tier 3 is Allen, Murray, Ryan, and Wentz for me personally. But they are kind of that definite second wave of quarterbacks. Yep.
Yeah. And so where did you have Josh Allen? Because Dried Ocean, don't worry. I didn't forget about Josh Allen. I had him at 11. He was just outside my 10.
Josh Allen I have at 7. And last year I think he finished as the quarterback 6. His rushing capabilities, I mean, he's essentially Cam Newton. He's Cam Newton, who I don't think is quite as developed as a passer. But I also think that he really didn't have a ton of great weapons last year. I mean, John Brown had a decent season, and Cole Beasley did his thing in the slot. But we'll see what he can do with the Stephon Diggs in town now.
I am excited for that addition for him to have that kind of a weapon. But, I mean, I think for me it wasn't so much that it looks like I'm just dropping it. I'm not really dropping Josh Allen. I'm more excited about the upside of the other quarterbacks that I have just slightly higher. I'm not low on him. I don't feel like he's not going to be successful. Like, I'm not intentionally not targeting him in drafts, but if he doesn't fall to me, I'm not taking him.
The only reason I push back on Josh Allen being outside the top 10 at the position is his rushing floor.
Sure.
He's proven what he can do as a rush. And they not only that, but they also call his number inside the 5. So it's not, I mean, last year they force-fed Frank Gore red zone goal line carries and pretty much didn't give the ball to Devin Singletary whatsoever inside the 5. And then it was, Josh Allen just turning into a quarterback power and, man-childing his way into the end zone. So that's one thing that I love about his floor. And that's why, even though I'm not super high on him as a passer, I still think he has to grow in that regard. That rushing floor is just something scrumptious.
I do love a good rushing floor. Yep, that is definitely tasty as far as fantasy value goes. But then going into the next, towards the top 15 for me. So I have Josh Allen, I have Aaron Rodgers, Matt Stafford, I have Joe Burrow at 14, and then I have Cam Newton at 15.
Okay. Fair enough. See, one guy that I really struggled to leave out of my top 10, and maybe it's recency bias, maybe it's the fact that he's getting up there in age, but Ben Roethlisberger is really a name that is interesting to me. But I've got Aaron Rodgers at 11, Brady at 12. I've got Roethlisberger at 13, Stafford at 14, and Jared Goff, who, by the way, was right there with Jameis Winston as far as most passes attempted in 2019 at 15. Goff is a fantastic value right now. People are like writing off the Rams offense completely. And don't get me wrong, Goff definitely has some holes in his game. And, you kind of wonder, you gave him an extension. Is he really the real deal? I don't feel like a lot of people are super confident in Jared Goff at the current moment, but I think he's more than a competent quarterback. And with Sean McVay still, pushing the buttons behind the scenes, I think he's going to be fine. Yeah.
No, I definitely think he's going to be fine. And I do feel like a lot of people are super low on him. I have him in a dynasty league that's going into Superflex, and I'm pretty happy to have him for $1 going into dynasty, especially considering salary caps and the way they are. And I just had to pay what I did to keep Deshaun Watson. Pretty happy to have him as my second quarterback.
That sounds so disrespectful for $1.
Okay. So he's on a rookie contract, and in our rookie league, we have round 1 rookies are our $5 contract, round 2 is $3, and round 3 is $1. So,
I mean, bravo for getting him at that price. It's just, man, that just sounds
$1. It's pretty good.
$1.
Yeah. Hey, that's good value right there. That's on sale. So I appreciate that for him. Okay, so but basically this 15 and some that you mentioned. So I have Goff at 16, so he's just outside that for me. Okay. And then I've got Ben, and then I've got Daniel Jones. And I think this back half, as we go into my next would be.
Oh, Ben is low for a Steelers fan.
I know it is, but maybe I'm just doing that thing where it's like, oh, it'll be just fine, just hoping it's like amazing, but I'm not like over like hyping him. He's gonna be amazing. Like it's gonna be great.
5,000 yards the last time he was healthy in a season.
I know, but if I'm secret about it and I'm not wishing it into the stars, maybe it'll just be sneaky, like a rise. I'm trying to be strategic. I don't want to upset the fantasy gods. I know how to appreciate and it's the fantasy gods. They've got to figure it out, and I have to be humble. Be humble about my team. I mean, I'm not humble with my ranking of Juju Smith-Schuster. I'm pretty sure he's in my top 10. But I'm just saying, like, Ben, I'm just like, it'll be fine.
if Ben, similar to like that of Cam Newton, if Ben is healthy, and I speaking of Cam Newton, I've got Cam Newton at 16.
Okay, I have him at 15, so that makes sense.
Yeah, so I mean, if Cam is healthy, the only thing that kind of sucks about Cam Newton's situation is he's inheriting the shoddy wide receiver group that Tom Brady had last season. And, for you Tom Brady truthers, which there's a ton of out there for good reason,
sure.
A lot of will cite like, hey, Julian Edelman is, long in the tooth, and who else does he have to throw to? I mean, can you name a tight end of his? Like, actually, it's an interesting point. I mean, N'Keal Harry didn't get up to speed quick enough after suffering an injury and costing him a lot of time.
Sure.
Point is, Cam, if healthy, Cam is still a beast, and he's taking care of his body. He's in greatest shape as he can be. We will have to wait and see how his ankle looks, how his shoulder looks. But if he's healthy, 16, like on my rankings board, is a bargain to get someone with Cam's upside. I love him in 2 QB formats.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, crying out loud, if you could get someone like let's say you draft and you take Deshaun Watson, so you go a bit early on your quarterback, and then you wait, and then you stack up at the other positions, and you can like snag Cam as your QB2. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, and again, we'll get into the ADPs on quarterbacks here in just a second, but yeah, Cam is somebody that's certainly very interesting. At 17, I have Joe Burrow. At 18, I have Ryan Tannehill. At 19, I have Drew Lock. And at 20, I've got Daniel Jones. And Daniel Jones is a tough one to figure out because he reminds me a bit of Mitch Trubisky in the as far as he's inconsistent. When he looks great, damn, does he look good. But there are some glaring things that I just don't know if he's going to be able to pick up, or have we already seen NFL defensive coordinators go, okay, that's how we get to him. And he doesn't really have a true number one wide receiver. No offense to Darius Slayton or Sterling Shepard or Golden Tate. It's a decent group of wide receivers, and I like Slayton's upside. Evan Ingram, if he can stay healthy, like Evan Ingram. And of course, Saquon. Still an offensive line that is a work in progress. But Daniel Jones, there's things that scare me about him. He holds the ball really, really long time. He struggles with his accuracy pushing the football down the field. But there's some things that I love. Like, he's accurate and gets the ball out of his hands when there's short route concepts, West Coast concepts, 3-step drops, gets the ball out of his hands, knows where to go with the football, even has decent eye manipulation. There's things I like. It's just there's things that concern me. So, I mean, it's the same thing with Drew Lock. Sure,
I get that. And I feel like, as we get closer to the season, if we have a season, knock on wood, I can see shifting Daniel Jones for myself a little bit in my rankings just because I am more excited about other quarterbacks than I am him. It's more of a safe spot for where I have him. I have him at 18. And then I've got Ryan Tannehill at 19. I've got Drew Lock at 20, and I've got Baker Mayfield at 21.
I've got Baker at 21 too. I want to see Baker prove it to me. And it sucks.
This is the year that I feel like he's got to prove it to everyone.
It's a make or breaker year for Baker.
Yeah.
I mean, a baker's dozen, baking, like he's on the hot seat. I don't know. I feel like there's a pun there.
Make it or bake it.
Oh, there's the pun. Yeah. Anyway, but no, when it comes to Baker, kind of excuses. I mean, I think this team too, with Kevin Stefanski coming into town, they invested heavily in their offensive line in the offseason. Certainly the weapons are still there on the outside, and they even brought in Austin Hooper, who was a fantastic tight end.
Yeah.
On paper, they could be very productive passing offense, but I think it's going to be more built like it was in Minnesota with Kevin Stefanski and Dalvin Cook and how they played ball last year. I think this offense is going to run through Nick Chubb.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I can see that. And I think because I think we all see the confidence that they have in Nick Chubb and to run the offense through him. That's why I keep dropping so much on Mayfield. If their running game is going to be that efficient, they don't need Mayfield to have these really high numbers for throws.
By the way, real quick, I don't want to get too off topic, but the man that didn't finish the season last year with the Cleveland Browns, Myles Garrett, who, stripped the helmet off, said Steelers quarterback Mason Rudolph, and then proceeded to bash him over the head with it. He just got rewarded with a $125 million contract extension.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
I think things. I think things about it.
Come on, you got to have some bigger thoughts than that. I'm surprised you aren't going to sound off about that shit.
Well, I know there's a lot of back and forth as far as, that interaction that they had, what players may or may not have said to each other. And obviously, I don't feel like there's been definitive proof of anything to things, but I also know that, I'm not super high on Mason Rudolph anyways. So, I think player aside, to do that on a field and then to all just be rewarded is a bit, that just says a lot about
for 2 more years too, which is it's not like he was on a contract year. I mean, a little bit confusing, but so let's go ahead and start doing the deep dive though.
You just went and got me all riled up and mad and you're like, okay, let's change the subject. So now I'm just like,
my bad. We were talking about the Browns. I mean, it was kind of relevant. My bad. So I'll go ahead and let you cool down and I will go ahead and preface all of our conversation here about the 2 quarterback average draft position study. Go ahead and grab your glasses, notepad, pen, all the above, and pay attention because class is in session. You like that right there. I didn't even plan that. There you go. So we're using Fantasy Football Calculator, though, as our ADP source. So, and they are compiling all of the mock drafts for 2 quarterback formats. So we'll go ahead and start at the top. In 2 QB formats, there are 2 QBs that are consistently going in the first, actually 3 consistently going in the first round. Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, and Deshaun Watson. Watson is the 106, Lamar Jackson at the 104, Mahomes at the 103. I'll ask you, are all of these quarterbacks fairly valued or overpriced?
I feel like they're all very fairly valued. Now, I think some people might argue that Deshaun Watson is a bit overly valued here, and I could see why you would make that argument. He did lose someone that's pretty good at catching the ball in DeAndre Hopkins. However, I feel like Deshaun Watson is someone that can extend the play in multiple facets, and he's got such a high floor in that ability that I have faith and I've bought into what he can produce given any situation. Now, this is something where I feel like we're going to really see a rise of David Johnson. I know a lot of people have been talking about that. Brandon Cooks isn't DeAndre Hopkins, so you can't immediately hand that off. But I feel like there's still receptions to be had for the weapons that are there. So based on that, I feel like you're still going to have volume from Watson. He's not going to not throw the ball. He's not going to not run. Just because Hopkins isn't there doesn't mean he's going to stop playing the game that he does so well. So I think there's going to be new ways that they utilize him and his talents. And so that's why I feel like it's still good value at the first round.
So all that changes is that Deshaun Watson doesn't have his safety blanket. And his safety blanket was a damn good one. And DeAndre Hopkins, who I think is one of the 3 best wide receivers in the National Football League. And we can sit here and debate how bad of a trade that was with Arizona for David Johnson and DeAndre Hopkins. But, David Johnson is not as bad as people think, even though he had a horrible finish to his career there in Arizona. But Deshaun Watson's still going to do his thing. I just think he's a little overpriced. There's other quarterbacks I would rather have. His average draft position right now is 106. 106. I mean, there's other running backs and wide receivers. Yes, and right now, Regal 17, we're talking 2 quarterback leagues.
Yes.
This is 2 quarterback average draft position, average information that we're discussing. Dissecting. I think it's fairly valued for Mahomes and Lamar Jackson at 103 and 104. If you take them at 101 overall, I'm not batting an eye. I think it's just fine in a 2 QB league. So for me in particular, I'm definitely 100% okay with that. But for me, 2 QB league, I'd rather have Russell Wilson, who right now is going 111 at average draft position. So I've got Russell Wilson. I would spend the 106 on Russell before I would spend it on Deshaun Watson. There's other players I would take in a PPR format, 2 QB league than Deshaun Watson at 106.
Yeah, no, I can definitely see that. And I feel like most mock drafts that we've done recently, and we're going to be doing another mock draft, actually Superflex tomorrow with the whole Fantasy Focus crew. So guys, tune into that tomorrow. It's going to be 11:30 a.m. Pacific and 2:30 p.m. Eastern. And if you would like to join that, please drop us a comment at one of us on Twitter. We'll get you a link to get you into that mock draft, but we'll be going through that as well again. So we're going to keep bringing you the same thing until we get it across. It's ADP for QBs whenever we take them. But anyway,
you got a good mock pun? I got
mock pun?
My name is Mocky Balboa. Hey, yo, wait. Anyway, a good mock, like, we will mock you. Never mind. I'm hitting you with that.
Anyways,
sorry. Pun intended.
Apologies, class. Our teacher just went a little off the rails with a little dad joke, so we can get back to.
I'm about to be a dad, so it makes sense.
This is true. You are going to be a dad soon. So yeah. Anyways, I get why some people don't want to take Deshaun that early. I'm just saying, if you do, I am not against that. I'm totally fine with taking him in the first round. Towards the end of the first round, I think it's still good value in 2 QB formats. I'm not shying away from that. But anyways, let's go. And I like Russell Wilson at the end of the first 2. I actually feel like based on who you could get there, and again, we're looking at Fantasy Football Calculator, but they've got Russell Wilson at 111, and they've got Nick Chubb at 112, Derrick Henry at 201. So I like that. Greggle's 17.
Everybody join in. Start throwing in your mock puns all you can.
Mock your socks off. That sounds like a t-shirt that we need to have designed.
How about Hickory Dickory Doc? Let's start the effing mock. Yeah, baby. You get it? Hickory Dickory Doc?
Anyways, what I'm saying is if I had the choice between Nick Chubb and Russell Wilson there, I would actually take Nick Chubb. So to me, I'd want to shore up that running back position if I'm at the tail end there. So again, at that 11-12, you're going to be having the turnaround. So I could get Nick Chubb and then wait and then maybe keep and get Russell Wilson on the turn. Maybe.
Fair. So, I mean, and you start looking at the other average draft positions for the other quarterback tiers that we were talking about. So let's run down the rest of the top 10. I'll throw every time I say a name, go ahead and say overpriced, fair value, on sale. Okay. All right. Dak Prescott, 206.
I think that's fair value.
Okay. So you got fair. I've definitely got that as in a 2 QB league. I'm willing to spend that. That's borderline on sale, but I'm just going to go ahead and say fair value.
You skipped over Kyler Murray at 204.
Well, that's way overpriced.
That's overpriced. I was going to say, we skipped over one that was massively overpriced. I think Kyler Murray, I mean, I'm excited to see what he's going to do. Again, like, this is someone who could have a crazy breakout year and absolutely just be unlocked with Hopkins as a new weapon. However, that is still a very steep value for someone that is so young that, this is the same argument that we had with Lamar Jackson last year when some people were down on him. Oh, can he do this in the next year? A little bit of a wait and see. I'm okay with missing out on that this year, just to wait and see how that connects. But yeah, I agree. That's an overpriced one. I think fair value for Dak, though.
So Dak, you're on board with. We're both on board with Kyler Murray. I think it's overpriced. You think it's overpriced. Like, don't get me wrong. I see the upside with Murray, right? But we thought a lot, and I love his athleticism. And I think he's going to be able to do some nice things as far as some of the zone read concepts in that air raid offense with Cliff Kingsbury. And you add DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, like, duh, it's going to make the offense that much more explosive. The only thing I worry about is that last year we said the same thing about Baker Mayfield. We saw, minus the rushing capabilities. We saw Odell Beckham Jr. show up in town. We saw Baker Mayfield throw 27 touchdown passes as a rookie, and he didn't even start the entire season. We saw a ton of upside. It's just that it makes me a little bit concerned that they still have offensive line issues, and I don't want to overlook that in a division where you got to play the San Francisco 49ers twice every season. Yeah. I know they did a number on the Niners, both games they played them this year. I like Kyler Murray. I'm just saying at 204 with the 16th overall pick, that's too much for me. That's too rich for my blood.
There's some.
Oh, we got run them down. There's too many good ones.
Kevin S. just threw a great one in here. Mock till you drop. Will Jenkins with pop, lock, and mock it. And Greggles said,
do that.
Hey Tate, whip out your mock.
Hey, you know what? I know you mean the word sock, and I'm not wearing any socks right now, so I can't whip out my sock. So.
Oh my gosh. Wait. Do you smell what the mock is cooking? I love that.
Smell what the mock is cooking?
I like Will Jenkins pop, lock, and mock it. I think that's clutch right there.
They're all good. They're all good. Keep them coming. Keep them coming as we break down the rest of these ADPs for 2QB leagues. So moving on. Now, if we're going in order of the quarterbacks being taken by their average draft position, I was going in order of my rankings. I'm selfish. I was talking about my stuff. So my apologies.
Can you not just talk about you? Can we make this about others?
I like talking about. I want to talk about me. I want to talk about Anyway, Josh Allen. 304. Overpriced, fair value, on sale. You are so low on Josh Allen.
I feel like that's overpriced. That's overpriced for me.
No.
I'm sorry. That's overpriced for me. I would rather wait and get someone else than Josh Allen there.
I think it's
You think it's fair value, don't you?
I definitely think it's fair value. If anything, I'd be willing to take him in the second. So I think he's actually on sale. I think in a 2QB league right now, he is on sale.
Oh,
of course, it depends on take this all with a grain of salt. Depends on your league scoring formats. If you get points per completions and like the Scott Fish Bowl where you actually get negative points for incompletions, he's not the most efficient passer, so take that into mind. But his rushing floor, I already mentioned, he's like a version of Cam Newton. So, and you added Stephon Diggs, and he finished last year as the quarterback 6.
Yeah.
I don't see what is to hate. If anything, this team has gotten better.
I get it. Maybe I need to figure out where I stand on Josh Allen more. I did, work on my feelings with Dak Prescott. We went to counseling. We figured it out. So maybe I got to set aside the time to work this out with Josh Allen because I'm just not there. I'm just not feeling it in here. Just not feeling it.
What is your biggest hesitation about Josh Allen?
I just feel like
seriously, I'm not patronizing you. I'm actually very serious.
No, I feel like in the times that I've seen him play and the times that I've started him in other leagues, I just feel like there's been drops, there's just been mistakes, and I don't like seeing those types of little inconsistencies. I do love the rushing floor, but when he runs, he doesn't look like he just looks like he's just barreling through. Like he doesn't look like a runner that's thinking about where to go. Like he just doesn't break the tackles the way for me that I'm watching. And maybe I'm looking at it wrong, but I'm just like, to me, I just don't. He seems like a clumsy runner.
Yeah, but clumsy that barrels through people.
Sure, but then you can, I don't know. Just to me, it's just he's not clean.
I get you. No, look. So when it comes to Josh Allen, there are times where his athleticism gets him into trouble. He holds onto the ball a very long time. He's got a little bit of Ben Roethlisberger and, dare I say, Jameis Winston as far
Ben
as
doesn't run.
Well, no, but he extends plays.
Sure, he does extend plays.
He extends plays. So that's what I mean. And even when I mentioned Jameis Winston, he holds onto the ball.
Sticky hands.
Almost to the point where he is unwilling to give up on a play sometimes. And it's to the offense's detriment. I will think that it's going to help, though, that he's going to have another one-on-one winner on the outside with Stephon Diggs. I think that is going to significantly help him as a passer. The only thing that makes me a little concerned is that the fact that you say he's kind of a bulldozer is that, he is human and he's a quarterback and he takes a lot of hits. If anything,
I am very worried about his staying healthy and durability just in the way that he runs. So, I mean, he's young too. That's something he can fix. He can just get better every year. Like I said, I got to maybe, sit down one-on-one counseling with Josh Allen and figure out why my feelings are so low.
Talk it out with him. Talk it out.
I just got to talk it out. Just speak through these things, work through our issues. I believe we can get there.
He's going before Drew Brees, though.
I don't like that he's going before Drew Brees. I feel
Aaron Rodgers in 2 QB mocks right now, and his average draft position is 307.
That's overpriced for me for Rodgers, especially considering I've got Rodgers at 12.
I mean,
am I too low on Rodgers too?
No, I've got him at 11. I think
I can't fit all of these guys.
The hell do I have?
I
have him at 11. I have him at 11.
it's hard to fit all of these guys. Like, you can't just be like, okay, I'll just move him, because then they're just going to keep edging each other out. Like, as far as the upside goes, I feel like we've hit the cap on Rodgers. I feel like every year we're like, oh, it's going to be Rodgers' year. He's going to make it happen. If there was a year for him to make it happen, it was last year.
Fair. Okay. I mean, but I will say this. He didn't have Devontae Adams for a decent amount. I mean,
yeah, but if he's such a high caliber quarterback, I don't think that's a good enough excuse. He had tons of offensive weapons that he could have made work. Well, he could have made it work. If he's really that good and that efficient of a quarterback, he will make the crap that he has in MVS and Lazard and whatever the hell. He will complete a pass to any of those random guys. If he's really Aaron Rodgers and as amazing a quarterback as we all think that he should be able to complete a pass to any Joe Schmo that's on the field. He should.
I will say that
it's like he just looked past and through them.
I've never been a huge fan of Aaron Rodgers as far as his mechanics go. And I've always thought that he just has this crazy arm talent. And I mean, don't get me wrong. Between the ears, the man definitely knows the game of football. Like,
sure, absolutely. And I mean, there's no one you want throwing a Hail Mary more than Aaron Rodgers as far as being able to split, defenders and find your offensive guy and then, needle in a haystack. He can make that throw, but
even to this day, off-platform throws, Rodgers is really the only person that is capable of making off-platform throws like Aaron Rodgers does is someone like Patrick Mahomes. Like, he still has elite level things that he can do that just others simply can't. I will say this about Aaron Rodgers, though. The shift in offensive philosophy is what kind of makes me hesitate on ranking him inside my top 10. But we also had that happen in a fluke year where I think Drew Brees threw like 23 touchdown passes. I mean, I think it was Alvin Kamara's rookie season back in 2017 where he only threw 23 touchdown passes. Brees was still efficient, but it just wasn't the numbers that we've come to expect from Drew Brees. And everybody's like starting to say, oh, well, the offense has shifted and, Drew Brees isn't the same guy anymore and blah, 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 blah. I mean, I want to be careful not to overreact to Aaron Rodgers' ho-hum season for a guy only because we have such high expectations for someone like Aaron Rodgers. But I will say that this offense was run and most efficiently through Aaron Jones and the running game. And I think that is going to continue to be the case. And that's why I kind of think that 307 is too high. It's overpriced for Aaron Rodgers. And even in a 2 QB league, I mean, do I hate it? No, I don't. But it's still a little bit rich for my blood.
Yeah, it's just a little bit too much for me on him. I would rather wait and get Rodgers in like the late fourth, if I could. I mean, there's so much other value there at the 307 that I would rather have than Rodgers. On to the next ones on the fantasy football calculator are Wentz at 311 and
Drew Brees at 311.
Drew Brees at 311. So they're both right there back to back. So going off the Drew Brees talk, I mean, for me, Carson Wentz too is someone that, we know his rushing floor, we know his ability to extend the play. And I think that for us, and I feel like a lot of people, it's just, how can we feel safe about him staying healthy throughout the season? I mean, he's had a couple, pretty significant injuries, and we definitely just want to see that consistency in him just being on the field. I don't know. And as far as like both of those, where they're at those 311 spots, I feel like that's fair value for them. I don't think that one's on sale or one's too rich for my blood there.
I disagree with Drew Brees.
Okay.
I mean, he finished just shy of 3,000 yards and threw for 27 touchdown passes. Only 4 interceptions, and keep in mind that he only played really 10 and a half games. Mm-hmm. I mean, he injured his thumb against the Los Angeles Rams. Aaron Donald, just unfortunately, He-Man Hulk.
Also, on that injury, the fact that he went up against Aaron Donald and only came out with a messed up thumb. That's pretty good because Aaron Donald is a beast of a man. If any of you follow him on Instagram, and you should, I mean, his workouts are insane. He's an insane beast. The fact that he came out only with a hurt thumb is pretty lucky.
For some reason, similar to someone like Mike Tyson, when Aaron Donald speaks, there's something about me that just goes, damn. Ugh. Like it's like this man makes me uneasy just because
makes you shake in your boots.
He's so damn powerful. He is a man amongst boys. Like Aaron Donald is something else. So yeah, like you said, he came away from the encounter with a messed up thumb. You probably feel lucky if you're Drew Brees. But anyway, point being, Brees was so good when he was on the field. I mean, like I don't want to sit there and necessarily say, oh, well, his average per game, this would have been his output if he played an entire 16-game season, because that's not always the best way to go about things. But Brees would have done Brees things. He would have finished, if he played the entire season, 4,000 yards, somewhere around there, 4,000 to 4,500, probably threw somewhere around 35 to 40 touchdown passes. And really, what's different about this offense? They added Emmanuel Sanders. It's going to be
which don't you think is going to help open up Michael Thomas just a little bit?
I mean, Michael Thomas doesn't need help getting open.
No, but I mean, if anything, it helps split the coverage just a little bit.
Well, if anything, it just gives Brees another reliable option to win one-on-one opportunities.
Reliable, successful veteran option.
Right. I mean, and you still got Jared Cook doing his thing. I mean, and by the way, Alvin Kamara was not 100% healthy last year, and he still caught 81 passes in 14 games. Yeah. So when you consider all of those factors, this offense is still teed up, still talented. I've got Brees as a very good buy at 311, and Wentz is properly priced to me.
Yeah, so those are both even value for you then?
Well, Brees is actually on sale. I mean, I have him at 6 in my rankings, and you're getting him at the end of the third round of the 2 QB league. He could be your QB1, and you're getting him at the end of the third. Like, I think he's being slept on. We have a couple folks joining us, and Kyle Senra, my man. Hey, gang, what up, Kyle? We got Kevin, Kyle, or Kevin, excuse me, pull up a chair. We're talking about mock punts. Yeah, keep the mock punts coming. We also have, look, we're going live on unfortunately, like Dark Sage, if you write much more, we are not going to be able to, like, look, we both barely have our eyes above the text, but we do appreciate you joining in. Like, Dan Marino, I mean, we can get into the old-time debates of quarterbacks from that era to this era. We generally are focusing on fantasy here on Fantasy Focus, pun intended. But, Dan Marino certainly could have fit into any era, no matter what. Dude was a just damn stud. And not to mention, he was a good-looking human being way back.
And he had decent comedic timing in Ace Ventura.
I really thought his performance was underrated. That's what we should do, is we should have our next squad up, drafting athletes that acted as themselves in movies.
I love that, especially because I just watched Airplane and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar as the pilot. I'm just like, that was really good.
Give me Lawrence Taylor in Waterboy. Don't smoke crack. That's like one of his 3 lines in the entire movie.
So let's go ahead and continue to run it down. So we went through Drew Brees. We went through Carson Wentz. We're moving into the 4th round.
There are some surprises here in the 4th round too, by the way.
Yeah, I think Matt Ryan next at 403 is on sale. I think a lot of people are sleeping on Matt Ryan. We talked about it a little bit earlier when we were talking rankings, but I feel like a lot of people are sleeping on just how good an offense he has at his disposal. And I know that some people have the argument, oh, this is going to be the year that Matt Ryan is off. This is going to be the year that Matt Ryan is on. I mean, I feel like everyone's in such an even playing field in the fact that quarantine and all has limited practice for all. I feel like the people that are going to have the most success this season are the veterans that already know the playbook, that have their weapons, have these senior players. And I feel like for that, Matt Ryan has it in spades. And he just got Todd Gurley, who's also a seasoned veteran, who's excited to be there. I mean, I'm just very excited about that high-powered offense, and I feel like I'm putting my chips on the table for Matt Ryan.
When it comes to, I mean, as if you just go with a duo, Is there a much better duo in the NFL? Maybe Mike Evans, Chris Godwin can definitely be argued, but then Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley, they're a fantastic duo. And I know that they lost Austin Hooper, which, by the way, I'm not trying to overlook because that's a big loss. I know they traded for Hayden Hurst, but Hayden Hurst is not Austin Hooper. Austin Hooper was a very good tight end, and the reason they couldn't keep him was because they couldn't pay him. Yeah. But Todd Gurley, though. He's an upgrade from Devonta Freeman from last season. No offense to Devonta Freeman, who I think has had a great NFL career, significant upgrade. This offense is still going to be incredibly potent. And if anything, the fact that you have to respect a running game means that it'll open things up vertically down the football field for two very good wide receivers that can win one-on-one matchups on a consistent basis. So Matt Ryan in a 2 QB league, I'm gonna say he's fairly valued though. I'm not gonna. I like where he's going, and I believe in him for this year. I think he's fairly valued. I think he's a nice value in 2 QB leagues in the 4th round or end of the 3rd. I mean, either way, you feel confident he could be your QB1, and in a 2 QB league, you're getting that in the 3rd or 4th round.
Absolutely. No, I'm definitely high on him. The one that I'm kind of laughing a little bit next, that's listed at 406, is good old Baker Mayfield. That is, without a doubt, too rich for my blood for Baker. I mean, we just talked about how we feel like it's going to be a make it or bake it year for Mayfield, and I feel like I want no part of that. Like, the only part of the Browns offense that I'm targeting, if at all, would have to be Nick Chubb. And then, I've gotten Landry in a couple drafts pretty late, and that was great value. But aside from that, I just want no part of Baker until I really see how he can perform.
Yeah, Baker is insanely overpriced at this price tag. So I don't know if it was just people mocking in Cleveland or Oklahoma or some shit like that. But yeah, definitely not a price I'm willing to pay to get Baker Mayfield. I have Baker like outside of my top 20 in rankings, so I'm not spending a 4th round pick on Baker Mayfield. No shot in hell.
So we move around and we're
wait. Kyle liked my pun. Make it or bake it. You're welcome, Kyle.
Didn't we talk about there was a pun there with Baker Mayfield?
Yeah, I said make it or bake it.
I know. I'm saying like bravo, and people are the bandwagon has started. Make it or bake it season. # make it or bake it. Kyle also. I believe you have Matt Ryan higher. Do you have him higher in your rankings than Drew Brees?
I have them right after each other. I have Brees at 7 and Ryan at 8. So they're right next to each other.
Is there a case to be made that Matt Ryan, to me, Kyle, I'm going to have to respectfully disagree. I really, truly believe that Drew Brees in this offense is a well-oiled machine, and they added Emmanuel Sanders. I mean, granted, you can say he just replaced Ted Ginn Jr., but I liked Emmanuel Sanders more than I like Ted Ginn Jr. right now anyway. So for me in particular, I see you smiling because there is a very, very, very good, I like that pun.
Cleveland Mock. So good, Greggles. I liked that one.
Did you ever see that Dwayne Johnson rock show at Cleveland during the WWE?
No.
All right, so watch it afterwards. But anyway, point being, Kyle, I'd rather have Drew Brees, not by much, but just feel more comfortable with him than Matt Ryan, who's been a little bit up and down at times, where Brees just seems to be that steady guy in that New Orleans offense.
So we move on to the next quarterback. We move to 503, and here's another one that's a little bit head-scratching. And again, people seem to hate veteran quarterbacks, and they love the young and sexy pick. This one's Daniel Jones.
Which, no offense to Daniel Jones, but if I have my separate quarterback rankings as far as attractiveness goes, he's not the sexiest to me.
He's essentially Eli Manning. It's like the second coming of Eli Manning. He looks the exact same.
He is Eli Manning reincarnate, that is for sure. Just as confused constantly.
Second, oh, shucks,
yeah.
This
kind of look going on. So
that was a good homework.
Thank you. Yeah, at 503, that's overpriced. 100%, that is overpriced for me. I would rather not Right there in this position, you've got Robert Woods going ahead of him, DJ Moore after, and DK Metcalf after that. I would rather have any of those plus any of the 5 above and below that instead of Daniel Jones.
Yeah, that's although I like the upside, that's way too high for me for a 2 QB league. Even in a 2 QB league, that's still too high for me for Daniel Jones. So, but we move on to the 5-10, which is Tom frickin' Brady.
Now, I had Tom at 10, and I feel like this is fair value, almost on sale, considering the amount of weapons that he has at his disposal. Like we said earlier, I know that he's not the high volume thrower that others are, but you just can't look away from the number of weapons he has. I've tried to look away. I don't want to admit that he's got such good weapons, but he does. So I feel like for that reason, this is fair to on sale for me.
I've got fairly priced on Tom Brady. I'm a Bucks fan. I want to be cautiously optimistic that they are going to be a contender in the NFC. But there's no denying that Brady just got a significant upgrade as far as his pass catching options. And I know a lot of Bruce Arians' system concepts are vertical passing. So, Mike Evans is kind of the guy that makes me a little bit concerned as far as his particular value. But Brady has guys that can win one-on-one opportunities all over the place. Of course, the knock on Brady in today's National Football League is that he gives you absolutely nothing outside of quarterback sneaks on the 1-yard line as far as rushing production. Like, it's all going to be through the air. And every other quarterback we've discussed feels like they have some sort of upside as far as, being able to run the football.
Yeah.
Brady doesn't have that, but Brady also has some of the best weapons in the National Football League. So I think it's fairly priced for Tom Brady.
I gotcha. And also where we're at right now, we're arguably in your second quarterback format tier.
Right.
So like we just passed, I think, the 13th quarterback. Forgive me, I'm not good at math. But around now is where people would be taking that second QB. Tom Brady there as my second QB. I'm loving that.
Oh, yeah. 100%. So now we're moving on through the 5th round to the 6th round. And at 601, Matty Staff. And when it comes to the Detroit Lions, and I got to go to a couple and cover a couple games actually for the Detroit Lions, not Tigers. We're starting. Hey, baseball season starts on Thursday. Anyway, when it comes to Stafford, though, obviously he suffered an injury, missed the remainder of the season, but was off to a great start. Stafford was slinging the damn ball. Kenny Galladay was off to a
He was on a roll, and then he got that speed bump thrown at him. And the back injuries are always terrible. But based on what we've heard, and I had ESPN's reporter for the Lions, Mike Rothstein, I had him on my one-on-one with show, and he had all the confidence in his practice and how he's looking going forward. It doesn't seem that it's going to be an issue. There doesn't seem to be anything lingering right now. So Matt Stafford, for all intents and purposes, right now is very healthy. So having a healthy Stafford that can sling it the way he did at the beginning of last season, I'm loving that. And I feel like this is fair value to, again, on sale where you could get him here.
One other thing I want to bring up, too, when it comes to the Detroit Lions, if you got a healthy Stafford and Galladay, Jones, and not to mention this isn't a second-year TJ Hawkinson, and you also drafted, I think, one of the best pass-catching backs in the entire NFL draft. And by the way, he can also do a hell of a lot of stuff as far as just running the football, too, in DeAndre Swift.
Yeah.
Stafford is going to be just fine. I mean, and not to mention the Lions' defense is not teed up very well. I know they drafted Jeff Okudah, but this is still a defense that is they basically made a lateral move for this season in the fact that they replaced Darius Slay with Jeff Okudah. So this team's going to be playing from behind a lot, and Stafford's going to have to throw the football a lot. So What does that mean? Plenty of fantasy points.
Volume. What we all love in fantasy. Volume. Give me the numbers all day. Love it.
I think he's fairly priced. I'm 100% on board with Matt Staff at that point.
Now this next one for me is definitely, I think, overpriced because the system that they're in is run heavy to say the least, but that would be Jimmy Garoppolo at the 603. No, thank you. I'm sorry, whatever Niners fan messed up the ADP and all of these rankings, but No, like you have a run first offense at its core. 110% couldn't be more run first offense. I mean, I am excited about Brandon Ayuk. Obviously, Deebo Samuel got hurt, so I'd like the value you can get for someone like Brandon Ayuk in most drafts. However, that's it. There's not a lot of other things that I'm super excited about. Yes, George Kittle's there and he's going to throw the ball to him, and that's in a tiny George Kittle bubble. Like, he's not, like, just no. I'm sorry, just no. Overpriced, no thank you. Move on.
Yeah, you're not selling me.
No.
Yeah,
I'm not buying what you're putting down. No.
Staying away. I mean, even though he's good looking, I'm staying away from Jimmy G. So, as far as now, we move on to another 6th round quarterback. I mean, Jimmy G made no sense there to me. But Jared Goff at 6'12", and we'll go ahead and wrap up here pretty soon. As far as on this episode of ADP Study at the quarterback position, but Jared Goff at the 6'12".
I like that. I think that's fair value for Jared Goff.
I 100% think it's fair value, and I mean, this dude was right there with Jameis Winston as throwing the football the most in the National Football League. Mm-hmm. And I get that Cooks was in and out of the lineup, but what's changed? I mean, I know that they don't have Todd Gurley, but Gurley was kind of off the field and in and out of the lineup. It felt like all the damn time anyway. So, I mean, you bring in Cam Akers and hopefully Darrell Henderson's role expands, and both of those guys are capable of doing some nice things as far as in the passing game out of the backfield.
I feel like the efficiency that they had with Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, and Tyler Higbee, who I know are both high on and leading that train. I feel like with the efficiency that they have in their pass catchers, there is no reason that Jared Goff can't finish higher than his ADP here. There's no reason. I mean, aside barring injury or injury to other players, I think that they are a fully weaponized, high-powered offense with great volume. McVay is not changing the way that he is using his receivers there, the way that he is using his tight end now. I feel like it's all systems go. So I love this value for Goff here. I think that's very fair value at the 6'12".
It's just not, I mean, you know, with Stafford or Goff, as, you know, Greg will sound off like Stafford, he loves him at 601. Same thing with Kevin about Goff. I mean, as a QB2, completely fine with those things. I mean, and by the way, like in a 2 QB league, I'm an advocate of taking a quarterback within the first 3 rounds. Make sure you at least get one. Like, I'm not saying you got to go back to back. You don't got to go quarterback heavy because you can't start 3, but get one. Definitely get one that you really, really, really like. And then, I mean, Stafford and Goff are not picks that people are going to, oh man, I wish you wouldn't have taken him. Like, it's not a sexy pick. It's not sexy, but it's effective. I mean,
it's safe.
That's what you want for your quarterback too. I mean,
absolutely. I mean, take a dart throw on drafting someone else later for maybe your, to just keep on your bench. You never know. And I think in 2 QB leagues, there is definitely a good argument for why you should take a third quarterback at the end, just to have that extra stash player, because, in a 2 QB format, it tends to be pretty cutthroat on the waiver wires. So you just want to shore up the position so that you're not screwed by week 6.
I mean, shit, even with so we'll go ahead and I want to ask you, as far as collectively with the names that we haven't discussed at this point, if there's anybody else you really, really, really like or really, really, really believe in. I mean, we haven't talked yet about Joe Burrow, Ryan Tannehill, but by the way, Tannehill was phenomenal to finish the regular season last year. Phenomenal.
And I think that based on how far down you see some of these players going, Joe Burrow down at 1107, you've got Cam Newton at 1203, who we talked about as well. I think those are all, very good buys for where they're going. And as your second QB, maybe your third, I think those are fantastic values. I don't see you getting to stash someone like Cam Newton as your third. I can definitely see him going as your second. However, I mean, even stashing someone to me like Nick Foles on your bench, when you know that Trubisky's not going to win his job back, but Foles could see success there, I don't mind having that for a bye week fill-in and just to, play the matchup if I'm not 110% on my QB2. I love those. So that's someone that I'm like, back of the mind, I'm thinking about just taking flyers on towards the end.
So, what really second-year quarterbacks are the ones that seem to be the lottery tickets.
Yeah.
Because we've seen what Mahomes blow up in his second year, even though he only started one game his rookie season, but he was somebody that popped in his first year as a starter, second year in the NFL. Lamar Jackson, second year in the NFL, pops, obviously sets the league on fire. When it comes to this year's crop of second-year quarterbacks, we're talking about Daniel Jones, Drew Lock. Even Gardner Minshew's worth discussing in a 2 QB league. Don't throw anything at me, but
I can't. You're in a different state.
I get it, but we see Kyle saying, "Give me Tannehill over most of the quarterbacks talked about right there," and that's fine. Tannehill was great to finish last year, and Teddy Bridgewater is one that we have not really discussed.
No, but if DJ Moore is going to be as much of a thing as everyone keeps talking about, who's going to be throwing him the ball?
DJ Moore's, God, he's so good. He's so good. He's good. It has nothing to do with DJ Moore. I just wonder if he's going to be stuck in. I just don't know if I'm a full believer in Teddy Bridgewater. I hate to say that, Greggles. I thought he did a great job when he was pressed into action. And I will say this. If you want to wait on Teddy, that's one thing you can do. If you are a believer in Teddy Bridgewater in a 2 QB league, you could essentially bypass all the middle rounds and wait till take Teddy in the 10th or some crazy shit. He is going super, super late at the current moment. One thing that really bothers me, though, I really wish that the Miami Dolphins had a solid quarterback at starting the season. Yeah. Because if we knew it was going to be Tua Tagovailoa, I just wanted to say his name for it. Can you?
I know. You just brag that you can pronounce it, and I can't.
You say basically the word tongue and then Vailoa. Tagovailoa.
I'll work on it. I'll try harder.
Keep working. It's fine.
Yeah.
But even though whether it's him or Fitzmagic, I think that there's production to be found at the quarterback spot in Miami. Derek Carr, damn it, I want to believe in Derek Carr. I want to.
He's such a nice guy. I don't want to be done with Derek Carr. I feel bad for the guy. Do I think that Mariota wins the job? No, I think it's still Derek Carr's job. For a late round QB2, I feel like Carr is someone that I would rather feel safer as my bench spot QB, not my starting 2.
I know, and I get that they drafted Brian.
The offense runs through Josh Jacobs.
I agree with that 100%.
Which I love. I love him. I'm 100% on board. He's my ride or die. Love my Josh Jacobs.
They did add someone that can really run in Henry Ruggs.
He can run.
The dude, God, he's explosive. But he is also another name that is worth bringing up. Phillip Rivers, who right now, as far as average draft position, I actually hate his average draft position in 2 quarterback leagues. But if he's 704 is where he's going right now, as far as according to Fantasy Football Calculator, that's too rich for my blood. But I will say if you find him around the 10th or 11th in a 2 QB league, then I'm all about Phillip Rivers because you got he's going to throw the football, and you got a great offensive line, which he didn't have last year in Los Angeles. You just got to be able to navigate the draft a little bit. That's what we're trying to do here on the ADP study here on the Fantasy Debate with Sam and Tate.
We're just trying to divide the lines and figure out where, we're comparing our rankings with where these guys are going and where our feelings are as far as where we're taking them, which is why he's too rich for my blood, and, it's a great price. But I think that people need to make sure that they're doing their own rankings too. I think a lot of people depend on, other analyst rankings, and that's why we share them. But at the same time, you need to go through a research on your own. Where do you have your top 12? And then when you figure out your line, you'll know where you're comfortable taking that QB2. And depending on your scoring format, maybe you take someone, of that top 10 caliber and someone right next to them. So maybe you take someone like Matt Ryan, and then you get a Matt Stafford. We just decided to go all Matts this season. But those are 2 very safe options as in a 2 QB league that you'd want the consistency and that volume from both. So it just depends on where you're taking them.
It is all relative to whatever your draft format is, whatever your draft scoring format is, whatever your roster format is, whatever. Whatever your league settings are, that you have to keep it all in mind when you're taking our advice into account. But I will say this. I want you to sound off in the comments, and I appreciate everybody joining live here on this episode of the Fantasy Debate with Sam and Tate. We're both allowed to drink around this time. I mean, Sam doesn't have to go do anything else after this, right?
No, I'm still in quarantine. And this is the reason why we wanted to move our show from mornings to the evenings. I do the intermittent fasting, so I can't drink in the morning, but I can drink in the evening.
Well, I'm super late in the evening. Well, not super late. I mean, what is it, like 8:38, almost 9 o'clock over here, Eastern Standard Time. But I'm good.
Unless you go to bed early. Do you have like one of those weird bedtimes where you have to go to bed early?
No. I mean, the fiance goes to bed a little bit earlier than I do generally. Her shift is 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Mine is 4 to midnight. So
yeah, you're a night owl. You're always up.
Oh yeah, always. However, if this is your first time coming across our channel, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. We drop a new video. We go live every single weekend as we're going into the 2020 NFL fantasy football season, given that we have one. But hey, tomorrow, Sam did mention it earlier, we have a mock draft. We have a super flex mock draft tomorrow at 2:30 Eastern Standard Time, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So she dropped the link in the comment section. We'll go ahead and drop it in the description as well. If you want to go ahead and join that on Sleeper at 2:30 Eastern Standard Time, we would love to have you, everybody that is joining live. Greggles, Kyle, Willie Jenkins, everybody, thank you for joining. Any other thoughts, Sam, before we go ahead and sign off?
I mean, I would just say, and this isn't breaking news. This is just like a thing to keep in the back of your mind. I have a source. Guys, I'm getting my sources. I'm getting to that level where I have sources.
Oh,
a birdie has told me that an announcement is going to be made tomorrow that has to do with college football. And it may be getting a little bit pushed back. Just a little bit. So keep an eye out for that. We'll see if that actually comes to fruition. I think that it will, based on who I'm talking to. But if that happens, and I think that this is something we've been talking about a lot, NFL is going to follow suit with whatever college football does. So this is going to be a big tell as far as what's happening.
So as much as I'm super stoked that you are beginning to have little information drops given to you, nothing like ending this episode on a high note. Positivity with potentially football being postponed. Damn you, Sam. Damn you. I get it.
Sorry, guys. Just things to keep in mind for the news. Always keep your notifications turned on for all your apps for news. And, join us tomorrow. If news drops, then we can talk about it live on air when we're doing our mock. And, let us know what you think. I personally think this opens up a conversation where we need to all be talking to our commissioners about adding extra IR spots if they have not already.
Before we sign off, I want to suggest that if you have not yet done so, and you are a commissioner of a league, I would go ahead and at least ask, or at least put the feelers out there to the rest of your league mates and let them know, hey, COVID-19 is going to see some present some crazy scenarios that we've never seen before. I want you to have roster flexibility. Heading into the season. So, I mean, that is certainly a discussion to maybe have some with the rest of your league mates, friends, etc., as we head into the 2020 NFL season. So, I mean, we're talking about it right here. See you guys on Twitter from Kevin. I'm trying to go ahead and click on that. There we go. And then we got Kyle as well. It might just be about fans at games.
Right?
Kyle, yeah, I hope that it is not being postponed, but we'll have to wait and see.
We'll have to wait and see.
All right. You go ahead.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Fantasy Debate. We will be back again next Saturday, same time. Always tune in. Please subscribe so you don't miss an episode. If you want to follow Derek on all forms of social, he is at dtater4. I am at Samantha R. Holt on Twitter, at Sam_awesome on Instagram. And if you haven't already, please go ahead and follow Fantasy Focused as well with 2 Ds on Twitter. And don't miss an episode because we've got tons of content the guys are putting out. We've got NASCAR, we've got Talking Tottenham, we've got so many things. We've got running back by committees that keep going out every week. So if you guys are wanting to take a deep dive into running back committees across the NFL, please tune in for those because the guys do a great job of covering all little details there. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe and have a wonderful weekend, guys.
So
Keep
I'm going
positive.
to go ahead and to piggyback off that, this is Monkey Knife Fight. We have a new partnership with Monkey Knife Fight. It's a DFS platform that you can go ahead and actually make over-under prop bets for each and every sporting event. In fact, there's one going tonight for the UFC Fight Night over there in Abu Dhabi, UFC Fight Island. So go ahead and you want to check that out. They also do NASCAR, monkeyknifefight.com. When you sign up and create an account and you deposit $50 or more in your first deposit, Monkey Knife Fight will actually match that and give you an additional $50 to go ahead and play with. Kevin and Greggles both subscribed. Thank you very much for not only subscribing, but joining us tonight. Join us tomorrow for our mock draft at 2:30 Eastern Standard Time. And until next time, later, says the Tater.
Bye, guys.